You're standing in a stone yard, and there's a slab leaning against the wall in front of you, with veining running through it like a river. Gray on white, lit from above so it almost glows. The salesman runs his hand across it and tells you it's one of a kind, no two slabs alike, and he's right. Every part of you wants it. You can already picture it sitting under your kitchen window, catching the morning light. Here's what he's not going to say out loud. That slab has a second price tag, and it isn't printed anywhere in this building. Set a glass of lemonade on some of these stones. Walk away to answer the phone. Come back 5 minutes later, and you've got a dull, cloudy mark etched into the surface that no cleaner on earth is going to wipe off. Some of these you'll be resealing every 6 months, down on your hands and knees on a Saturday morning, for as long as you own the house. And nobody in the showroom is going to bring that up while you've got your checkbook out. Because a countertop isn't a picture on a wall. It's the one surface in your whole home you touch, spill on, and lean on every single day. So the question that matters over 30 years of breakfasts isn't how it looks on the slab under these lights. It's how much it's going to ask of you every year after you take it home. Today, we're going through the 4 countertops to avoid at all costs. And the one sitting at number 1 is the surface that quietly bills you every single year for the privilege of owning it. We start at 4. Now, I'm not here to tell you to live with an ugly kitchen. That's the good news buried in all of this. The surface that asks the least of you also happens to be one of the best looking there is. You've just been steered toward the needy ones over and over because the needy ones photograph better under those showroom lights. Let me show you how to see the difference, and then you'll never unsee it. Here's the whole decoder, and it fits on the back of a business card. A countertop earns its place in your kitchen 2 ways. First, it survives daily life without babysitting. No resealing schedule, no panic when somebody knocks over a glass of wine, no seam quietly failing behind the faucet where you can't see it. Second, it still looks right in 15 years without a restoration bill showing up in the mail. That's it. 2 jobs. And there are only 2 dials that decide whether any slab can do those 2 jobs. The first is how porous it is, meaning how easily liquid soaks down into it. The second is how sensitive it is to acid, meaning what actually happens the moment lemon or vinegar or tomato touches the finish. Learn to read those 2 dials on any surface, and you can walk into any stone yard in the country and know the second price tag before the salesman has finished his handshake. And here's a gift. Because one of those dials you can read for free right there in the showroom. Ask them for a cup of water and pour a little puddle on the slab. If it beads up and sits there on top, the stone is dense and tight, and that's what you want. If it soaks in and darkens the stone within a couple of minutes, that surface is thirsty, and thirsty means sealing, and sealing means a chore on a calendar for the rest of the time you own it. That one little puddle tells you more than the whole brochure. None of this is my opinion, by the way. The people who cut and install this stone for a living will tell you all of it flat out. Go find a fabricator in his shop, the fellow with granite dust on his boots and forearms like a blacksmith, and ask him why he seals every natural top before it ever leaves the building. He'll tell you plain. Because he knows it won't hold up if he doesn't. Then go ask a stone restoration pro, the person homeowners called in a panic when the marble's already ruined, which stones reseal, on what schedule, and which ones etch, no matter what you do to protect them. You'll get the same answer twice. They just don't print any of that on the pretty brochure. So, let's put it where you can actually see it. Number 4. Laminate. The surface everybody reaches for when the budget's tight and they quietly tell themselves it'll be fine. Here's the honest pitch, because there is a real one. Modern laminate looks a whole lot better than it has any right to. The printing has come a long way, and a good sheet can pass for stone from across the room. It wipes clean with a damp rag, it costs a small fraction of everything else in this video, and day to day, It asks almost nothing of you. No ceiling, ever. No fuss. For a lot of kitchens in this country, that is genuinely the right answer. And I tell you so to your face. But here's the second bill. Laminate's whole weakness lives in two places, the seams and the front edge. Remember what it actually is. It's a thin printed layer glued down over a core of particleboard, and the sworn enemy of particleboard is water. Let water work its way into a failed seam near the sink, the spot where the counter meets the backsplash, and give it a few quiet months. The board underneath drinks it up and swells like a sponge you left in the bottom of the bucket. Once that surface starts lifting and bubbling at the edge, here's the cruel part. You don't spot fix it. There's nothing under there to repair, and you can't sand a printed picture and repolish it the way you can with stone. You tear out the entire run and start over. So a $2 failed seam turns into replacing the whole counter. And set a hot pan straight down on it one time. In a hurry, dinner half done, and your hands full, and you've got a scorch mark burned into it that isn't going anywhere. So who is laminate actually right for? A real, honest budget, first of all, and there's no shame in that whatsoever. A rental you're fixing up to lease out. A starter kitchen you already know in your heart, you'll gut in 5 or 6 years anyway. In every one of those, modern laminate is a smart, honest call, and anybody who sneers at it is selling you something you don't need. The one mistake, the only mistake, is dropping laminate into the forever kitchen and expecting it to go the full distance. 30 years of hot pans and standing water. It was never built for that fight, and it's not fair to ask it. Now, before we move on, let me tell you why I put the real yearly cost on every one of these. It isn't to make your fabricator out to be the bad guy. Most of them are good, straight-shooting people who'd give you the shirt off their back. I do it because the folks who never get burned on a house are the ones who walked in already knowing where the money and the upkeep like to hide. Everything I check before I trust a house, a bid, or a piece of land, all the catches nobody itemizes for you, I put in one place the complete Cheap Living Field Edition. It's the first link down in the description if you want to get out ahead of this. More on that later. For now, number 3. Number 3. Butcher block. Solid wood. The warm, cozy, natural centerpiece that's all over your feed right now, and I understand the pull of it completely. Wood is alive in a way stone never will be. A thick maple top with the grain running long, a little island of walnut catching the afternoon light through the window. It makes a kitchen feel like somebody's grandmother has lived there and loved it for 40 years. And that warmth is real. I'm not going to stand here and pretend it isn't. But wood isn't really a countertop. It's a relationship. And it's a needy one that never stops asking. It wants oiling on a regular schedule, food-safe mineral oil rubbed in maybe once a month when it's new, and if you skip it, the wood dries out and starts to split along the grain. It stains dark when you leave a beet or a wet coffee ring or a splash of red wine sitting on it too long. It scorches under a hot pot the same as laminate does. And the worst spot is the one you can't design around. The run right there around the sink, where water pools every single time you rinse a dish. Wood swells where the water sits, then shrinks back as it dries, over and over, week after week, and eventually it cracks and cups and turns black right at the wettest, hardest working corner of your entire kitchen. There's a reason the good makers beg you to keep water away from an undermount sink in a wood top. And there's a reason so few people manage it. There's a nuance here worth knowing too, because it changes the deal. End grain block, the kind where the wood fibers point straight up like a butcher's chopping table, is beautiful and kind to your knives, but it's thirstier and it moves more with the seasons. Edge green, the long plank look, is a little more stable but every bit as fussy about standing water. Either way, you're signing up for the oil and the caution, forever. So here's the honest exception, and it's a good one that I'll defend all day. A wood section built in as a dedicated shopping zone, or a wood island as a warm accent away from the sink, cared for by somebody who actually enjoys the little ritual of oiling it on a quiet Sunday. That is a genuinely wonderful thing to cook on. I've seen it done beautifully, and I've been jealous of it. The mistake is wrapping your whole wet, hard-used kitchen in a surface that wants oiling on a calendar and cracks precisely where the water lands. That's signing a contract you didn't know you were signing. If this is the kind of straight talk you wish somebody had handed you before you fell head over heels for a slab you'd be babysitting forever, do me one favor and tap that subscribe button. It's all arithmetic around here, no hype and no scare tactics. It helps us reach the next person who's about to put the neediest surface there is right into their forever kitchen. All right, number two. Concrete and the other porous specialty surfaces that travel with it. The custom, industrial, of-the-moment look. Poured right there in your kitchen. Seamless, heavy as a boat anchor. A little raw and honest looking. It photographs like a downtown designer loft, and it whispers a promise while it does it. Tough, permanent. Practically a chunk of sidewalk you can cook on. What on earth could possibly hurt it? As it turns out, quite a lot. Because for all that heft and all that swagger, concrete is porous, and porous is the whole ballgame we've been playing this entire video. It drinks in liquid unless it's sealed, and no sealer lasts forever, so you're right back on a resealing schedule, same as the natural stones. And there's a wrinkle most people never hear until it's too late. There are two kinds of sealer for concrete. A topical one that sits on top like a coat of wax and can scratch or wear or melt under a hot pan. And a penetrating one that soaks in but leaves the surface more open to staining. Whichever way you go, you're managing it, not forgetting it. Meanwhile, it stains from coffee and oil and wine, the same as everything else on this list. And here's the big one. As concrete cures and settles over its first year, and as it ages after that, it develops hairline cracks. Now, some people genuinely love those. They call it patina, character, the surface earning its story. Most people call the contractor to complain that their brand new counter is splitting. Same exact crack. Two completely opposite reactions, and you had better know which camp you're in before it gets poured, because there is no quietly taking it back out once it's in. So the exception here really comes down to your own two eyes and your own honest expectations. If you specifically want that raw patina, if the cracks and the worn spots read as character to you and you're happy to keep that seal topped up year after year, then concrete is a fine choice, and you'll love living with it. The trap is the person who walks in, hearing the word industrial, and hearing it as bulletproof, and walks back out having bought a surface that's porous and needy, dressed up in a tough guy's clothes. Buy it for what it actually is, not for what the word happens to sound like. All right, let me talk to you plainly for a second, because you've seen enough of this list by now to know I'm not exaggerating anything for the camera. A countertop is just one single line on a whole build or a whole kitchen remodel. And the entire project, top to bottom, is full of choices exactly like this. One, where the prettiest option on the table quietly cost you the most to live with, year after year after year. The folks who come out the other side owning a home that truly fits them, paid off, and honestly theirs, are not the lucky ones. I promise you that much. They're the ones who walked in knowing more than the person selling to them. That is the whole reason I built the complete Cheap Living Field Edition. It's 3 guides, 40 catches hidden in cheap houses, so you can tell an honest deal from a padded one whether you build or you buy. 50 catches hidden in cheap land listings, so a bad lot never sinks the whole project before you've even poured a footing. And the state-by-state cheap living notebook, because where you buy or build decides close to a third of what the whole thing ends up costing you. once you total up the taxes and everything else. Plus the worksheets you print right out and carry into the county office, and the walkthrough. Bought separately, those would run you about $45. Together, it's $29.99, and the worksheets come free inside the bundle. Think of it as the cheapest insurance you'll ever buy on the single biggest purchase of your life, because one needy choice, multiplied across a whole house full of them, costs more than the entire collection 10 times over. It's linked down in the description. Now, number 1. The countertop that bills you every single year. Number 1. Marble. And all the soft, light, natural stones that behave exactly like it. The showstopper. The slab with the river of veining we started this whole thing with, back in the stone yard, under those lights. Of everything on this list, this is the one people fall the hardest for. And I truly do get it, because it is the most beautiful stone there is, which is exactly why it earns the number 1 spot, and it earns it going away. Here's the second bill, and it's the biggest one in the entire video, which is precisely why it's sitting at number 1. Marble is more porous than granite, and it is sensitive to acid. So right out of the gate, it needs resealing roughly every 6 months to a year, and some hardworking kitchens even more often than that. That alone is a standing chore you're taking on for the whole life of the house. But honestly, that's not even the part that gets people. That's just the warm-up. This is the part the showroom slides right past. Marble etches, not stains. Etches, and there's a world of difference between the two. A little splash of anything acidic, lemon juice, a glass of wine, a dribble of vinegar, a smear of tomato sauce off the edge of a spoon, sitting on marble for even a short while, eats a dull, cloudy frosted mark right down into that glossy polished surface. And here's a genuinely cruel twist. It does that even when the stone was freshly sealed last week, because sealing and etching are two completely separate problems. A sealer slows down staining. That's the one job a sealer has. It does absolutely nothing to stop acid from eating the finish itself. So you can do everything by the book. Seal it right on schedule like a good soldier, and still ruin the surface with a single squeeze of orange juice at breakfast on a Tuesday. Now, the salesman may tell you to just get it honed instead of polished, and it's worth understanding why that isn't the escape hatch it sounds like. A honed finish is matte instead of shiny, so it hides an etch mark better, because there's less gloss for the etch to dull. Fine, but honed marble still etches. You just see it a little less, and worse. A honed surface is more open and actually stains more easily than a polished one. So you've traded one headache for a slightly quieter version of the same headache. It's a softening, not a cure. Sit with the whole picture for a second. You've put the softest, most acid-sensitive stone made on this earth into the one single room in the house where acid gets spilled constantly, morning and night. And you'll spend years living just a little bit afraid of your own kitchen because of it. Afraid to set your own glass of lemonade down without a coaster? That, right there, is the surface that bills you every single year, in resealing and in ruined finish both, for as long as you own the place, in the most literal sense of the word there is. But here's the part that ought to make you feel good, because there is a clean way out, and it costs about the same or even a little less to own over time. If what you love is that non-porous, wipe it and walk away, never think about it life, then engineered quartz is your answer. Quartz is man-made. It's sealed right in the factory during manufacturing, so it never needs sealing again. Not once. Ever. And it shrugs off the everyday acids that terrify marble. One honest catch, so I'm not overselling it. Quartz is not heat-proof, so you keep a trivet under the hot pans and you don't set them down bare. And if what you truly love is the natural stone look, the real veining, the depth you can see down into, then quartzite is the one to ask for by name. That's a natural stone with a marbleish beauty, but far, far better resistance to etching. And it only needs sealing about once a year. Even plain granite, especially the denser, darker slabs, only wants resealing every 1 to 3 years. And remember that free water test from earlier. Drop a little puddle on it, and if it soaks in within a few minutes, it's time to reseal. And if it beads up, you're good to go. There's one thing you have to get exactly right here, because this is the spot where most people trip, and folks watching this video will absolutely catch it if I get it wrong. Quartz and quartzite are not the same stone. And the two names being cousins is no accident of confusion the industry rushes to clear up. Quartz is engineered, it's non-porous, and it never needs sealing. Quartzite is natural, and it does need that yearly seal. When you walk in, ask for the exact one you actually mean, and make them say it back to you. So who is marble genuinely right for? It's a fair question, and it deserves a real answer, not a dodge. A serious baker who wants a marble slab for rolling out pastry, because that cool stone surface is honestly wonderful for working dough. And who happily accepts the patina, the little etch marks, the softening over the years, as the honest wear of a real working kitchen. That person should have their marble and enjoy every single minute of it. The trap was never marble itself. The trap is laying it down as your main, everyday surface while expecting it to stay flawless and showroom new, when the stone was never once going to do that for anyone alive. Now let me be fair to everybody in this story, because I refuse to leave you thinking somebody schemed to get you here. Nobody did. The stone yard leans on the dramatic slab, because drama is what moves people through the front door. And that's just the business talking. The designer specs marble because marble photographs like the cover of a shelter magazine, and beautiful photographs are how a designer sells a whole vision to a client. And nobody standing at the point of sale, with a commission riding on the yes, wants to be the one who pipes up and says you'll be babysitting this thing for the rest of your natural life. Honestly, can you blame them? Your fabricator especially is no crook. He'll even seal that marble for you, free of charge, before it ever ships out of his shop, precisely because he knows, deep in his bones, that it needs it. The showroom just sold you the slab that looked the very best under those particular lights on that particular afternoon, with your guard down. Not the one that's the easiest to actually live with over 10,000 ordinary mornings. That's the question nobody in that whole building thought to ask you. So we're asking it now, together, while you can still do something about it. And when you finally line all four of these up side by side, you start to see they're really the very same mistake, wearing 4 different sets of veining. Every one of them is a surface that got chosen for the single afternoon you picked it out, instead of for the 10,000 regular days you'll actually stand at it making your coffee. Laminate dropped into the forever kitchen, wood wrapped clean around the wet zone, concrete bought for a toughness it doesn't really have, marble set down right where the acid lives and spills. Same mistake, 4 different pretty faces. But flip the whole thing over, and it turns hopeful, which is the part I most want you to carry out of here. The countertop that asks almost nothing of you. No resealing down on your knees. No held breath over a tipped-over glass of wine. No restoration bill landing in year 8. That surface is also one of the best-looking ones anybody makes. Those aren't 2 different countertops you have to choose between. They turned out to be the exact same one. And that fact only matters more the longer you plan to stay put in a place. Because there is going to come a stretch of years where you genuinely don't feel like getting down on the floor to reseal a stone every 6 months. And the plain truth is, you shouldn't have to. Pick the surface that quietly takes care of itself, and you buy back something worth a whole lot more than a pretty slab. You buy back every single Saturday you'd have otherwise spent maintaining the thing for the entire rest of the time you live in that house. The best-looking countertop and the easiest one on earth to own turned out to be one and the same countertop. That is not settling for less. That's just choosing with your eyes open all the way. So tell me down in the comments, what's sitting on your counters right now? And be honest with me here, how many times have you had to baby the thing? Marble you're scared to set a lemon anywhere near? I read every single one of these, so don't be shy about it. And here's the next one for you, because it's the surface you actually stand on all day long, every day. And it's hiding more traps than the counters ever were. Floors. There are 5 I'd tell you to avoid at all cost. And one of them is a genuine fall waiting to happen in a house you mean to grow old in. That one is next. It's waiting for you.